And we can use FlexiLayout language functions such as left of, right of, above, and below to restrict the search area by combining a series of half planes to define a rectangle. And of course you can do that with a GUI, but you can certainly do that with FlexiLayout language as well. Also, in my previous example, you saw how powerful excluding text can be from your search area when I was showing you a complicated search area. So you can do that using the GUI environment, but you can also do that with FlexiLayout language code, which gives you a lot more options. Also, you can restrict the search area by the area of rectangles, as we see in this code example right here. As well, we can restrict by regions and by an array of rectangles, and that's the example that I showed previously, where we specify certain rectangles and then we combine them. So similarly to our ability to specify a search area in the way I just described, we can also exclude from the search area. So not only can you exclude a rectangle, but also an array of rectangles. And you can also exclude some hypothesis from the search. Now let's discuss the nearest method. So whether you're specifying the nearest conditions via the GUI or with FlexiLayout language, there's still something you need to be aware of. Let's say that this E1 was a title to a document, and these smaller rectangles were dates. What you could say is I want to find the date that's nearest to my title. And what FlexiLayout Studio is going to do is it's going to look at the center of each date, and it's going to look at the center of the title, and that's how it's going to formulate its measurements. So in this case, it looks to me like LT would be the nearest because the center of this date is nearest to the center of the actual title. So accessing data from a database for a static text search was already covered in this course in a presentation, and that was using the search text from DB function. So with this function, we can reach out and look for a variety of text strings that are stored in a database table in this particular column, and we use syntax like this where we make our connection. First we execute our command, we specify our connection string, and then we do a simple SQL query. And also note the maximum record count defaults to 1000. So this is a really powerful method and a good approach to take in many cases because you can update the contents of that database in real time without touching FlexiLayout Studio, because one alternative is to use pipe symbols within the FlexiLayout and specify all of your alternatives. But if you need to make a change, you have to go back to your FlexiLayout and you need to add that new pipe symbol, that new variant, save your FlexiLayout, export your FlexiLayout logic to an AFL file, bring that into a document definition, update the document definition in other words, then save and publish that document definition. So all those steps are eliminated if you keep your keywords in a database. And it did happen to me that I was working with someone and they had, I wasn't paying attention, but they had like 970 entries on one day. And they contacted me when this search stopped working, and I looked and saw that their database count had surpassed 1,000. So we merely changed this value and we were back in business very quickly. And let's briefly revisit this within FlexiLayout Studio. So in FlexiLayout Studio, for a static text element, we can specify our search text here, separated by pipe symbols, or we can do a search from the database using this GUI, and we can get assistance making the connection string. and write a simple SQL query. Alternatively, we turn that off, we go to advanced, and as I have shown, we can write some simple code here where we're creating a simple SQL query and then executing the search text from DB command. And as I said, we're using a global constant here for connection string before, and then executing this select string. So that can give you big advantages, as I mentioned. Using a global constant here allows you to switch between environments very quickly, and all your fields that refer to that global constant will of course be changed right away. So while I'm here, let's also look at the ability to search text from a file. And this is not as useful, in my opinion, as searching data from a database, because this is a static list. In other words, let's say I've got 20 entries in a text file. I can point them out, but if I wanted to make a change to the contents of that text file, the changes aren't made dynamically. In other words, they're not registered dynamically. I would have to, if I added a new entry or deleted an entry to my text file, I would have to go open up FlexiLayout Studio, repoint this, browse out to that newly updated file, click Apply and OK, save my layout, export the AFL file, bring it into a document definition, save and publish my document definition. So a database is dynamic, but searching from a text file isn't. And we can do this search either, if that still fits your needs, fine, and we can specify that with the GUI, or we can also specify it using FlexiLayout language, which is illustrated right here.